Hello again, Steve here with a few comments out on a job site. If you hear some drums in the background, it's because there's a powwow going on next door at the reservation, and they're having a heck of a time over there, I guess. Unbelievable costumes, by the way. But that's not what this video is about. This video is to pick up with where I've left off a few times, which is a little bit about the tedious relationship that many people see the West in with regards to Islam. And my question would be, with regards to Islam, is why is Islam so successful now in comparison to the West? And what I mean by successful is who's growing and who's not. I think that you could say that look at the size of families, that when you see a family of Islamic people, there's usually like a handful of kids. Whereas Western, especially white Western people, and a lot of people in the West as well, they have maybe one or two, if they have any. And many people are childless. Well, that's not a recipe for success. If success is measured, let's say, by the ability for a society to sustain itself, if they're not having children, well, it's not sustainable, right? But Islam is sustaining itself, and I think there's something we can learn from that. There is a lot that we can learn from Islam in this regard, I think. Which is that I would say, in order for a society to be successful, it must have, like a quote, air quotes here, guiding light. Otherwise, if it doesn't, it's a bunch of individuals as a clusterfrack or a fractured cluster. if one's hypothesis is that a society is important, then there must be something that everybody kind of gravitates to, right? And Islam certainly has that in spades. I mean, they have Allah, right? They have their God, their holy book. They have, Muhammad, and in some cases they have Ali, certain versions of Islam, which is very important to them. And Western civilizations used to have that as well, right? I mean, the center of Western civilization used to be Christianity. And once again, there was Christianity as a whole, there was God, the Trinity, there was Jesus, Mary, holy books, Episcopalian churches, and all this sort of thing. And, the city that I live in a lot of the time, almost every block has a church on it. So it wasn't that long ago that these places were full, and the vast majority of people took their moral compass, if you will, their guiding light, from this basis, from this system of religion. And in that system of religion, previous to several generations ago, it was taught that there was a hierarchy within society, if you will. There's God, there's men, there's women, and there's children. And this was clearly taught. Islam still operates that way, exactly that way. So they have a patriarchy, if you will, because God is seen as a patriarch. The man is the patriarch of his family and of his community, and so on. And so on down the road. The West, from Christianity, you could say, came which was a universal religion, came the idea of democracy. You might say, I'm not sure if that's really correct, because it showed up way back at the Greeks' times and so on too, but it was embraced. It embraced, at least ostensibly. I think there was probably nefarious reasons for it being brought in, but it was brought in under that guise, you could say, which is to say that if you're going to have a universal, then men and women are equal, which goes against the religious doctrine. Religious doctrine said that men and women are not equal. They're partners, they're complementary, but they're not equal, right? There's a hierarchy. Just like in an army, you need to have the general and you need to have the soldier. Neither can exist without the other. But we don't say they're equal, they're complementary. So what we have when you have a democracy, when you rip out the guiding light of Christianity, is And one of the reasons that came out of there was because of the battle between science, philosophy combined kind of thing, science and philosophy, and religion. There was no need for them to battle it out, but they battled it out, and what's left today is neither science and philosophy or religion taught anywhere. So there's this complete vacuum, and into this vacuum walks Islam with complete confidence that they are right, and the Western people say that we don't know any truth. And add to that the democracy, which is run overwhelmingly by women, because women outvote men, women live longer, and women have a greater incentive to vote, because what is voting but requesting government agents to steal from other people to give to you? Women then have been elevated in that traditional hierarchy to the higher level. If they can out-control men through the voting, then the idea that there's men, women, and then children is no longer the case. It's a complete inversion. And we see what we have. We have a situation where women control things, whereas traditionally for thousands and tens of thousands of years and so on, there was a delicate balance, which was developed probably by trial and error or whatever, that put men in a certain status and women in a certain status, whereas now it's inverted. And it's a complete social experiment because it's only, you could say, maybe 100 years old. And it's very fragile. And I will say that it will end in chaos. So we have, in the West, several choices to make, which probably won't be made by us. It'll probably be made for us by the forces of nature. We either have to go back to the moral compass of religion, or be taken over and forced into another religion, or we have to embrace philosophy. Now, either of the first two, going back to and embracing a new one, brings us back into externally sort of grafted or imposed moral compasses. Whereas the philosophical, a systematic approach to thinking, rational thinking, is like an internal, derived, and concluded system, where then we can analyze certain situations. We don't have to apply a certain book to look up what we're supposed to do. We can actually figure it out and come to our best conclusions. But that way we have voluntarism. Any other way of adopting a system which was previous, or adopting somebody else's mythology, it's just going to put us down the same road, I would say, of coming back to democracy, coming back to this cycle of democracy, socialism, and then calamity, which results in flipping back to a patriarch, because in democracy, women get control of everything. They vote for free stuff. Socialism blows up, and then you have to have the ruling hand of a strong patriarch again to bring it back, and then prosperity comes back and the cycle continues. Whereas if we adopt philosophy, we can rise above our emotional drives, because then we put our neofrontal cortex, our ability to think, our ability to reason, in front of as an arbiter for what it is that we want to do. You know, I heard it said recently in a podcast by Stefan Molyneux that women can no easier not take free stuff than men can turn down the sexual invitation of a fertile woman, right? And it's probably very true. But they can overcome that. Just like a man, doesn't have to just jump into bed with every woman who might invite him. He has that ability to override that. So when we're dealing with in the land of evolution, where our animal senses want to live, yeah, we want to grab things, we want to get whatever sex we can or whatever. But what I'm saying is that through philosophy, through using our higher sense of reason and using that as an arbiter, we can get to the point where we can get along. People can get along through reason, evidence, debate, voluntarism. And we don't have to have this cycle of predation, followed by strong-handedness to pound us back into obeying and behaving again. So, I know it's a little bit long-winded, mostly just thoughts that were coming to me that I wanted to share, and a few drums in the background. So, Steve here, getting great chatting. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.